Welcome everybody. Game of Thrones season. I already screwed up. Seven. Episode 1. We just watched the show live. Our plan, Matt, right? We'll do this every Sunday. We'll watch the show live, and then we'll do our wrap up because it can't. The Game of Thrones. This isn't. It can't wait.
No. It can't wait.
It can't wait.
It can't wait.
So Matt and John and Cenk and Ben all here to discuss it. Some incarnation of us, maybe not these 4, but somebody will be here every Sunday.
I'll be here for 1 more.
Is that it? Oh, then because you move to another land, right?
I'm going north of the wall.
He's Euron Greyjoy.
That's right.
He's going to go.
I'm still here at Wapo.
So where are you?
And he'll be bringing us a gift.
But you will return, right? And there's still,
I might be here for the last. We'll see.
There's like a 6% chance this journey will kill you, but if you survive,
then I will be here for the finale.
Okay, great. All right.
Casper and Brett Ehrlich were here earlier, and so they will rotate in as hosts as well. And
Anna was here.
Casper,
and we at least deduced that Brett Ehrlich, or at least I did. I got no backup on it. Looks a tiny bit like Jaime Lannister. And the bald.
We should cut off his hand, and that would really cement.
Brett, Brett also had a sexual relationship with his sister. That is wild. That is crazy.
Okay.
He kind of had to at that point, though.
And the bald Brotherhood of the Bannermen, who's now the Hound's best buddy, looks like William Hurt.
No question.
And Willie Nelson made a comeback today. Frey, Lord Frey.
Oh right, he totally, yeah. But speaking of making a comeback, we had the first sign because you mentioned it in the previouslys because we saw Hodor on previously, and then we saw the giant. We didn't mention that one scene. We saw it opened with after the cold open. We saw the army of the dead. So literally anyone who's died has the possibility of coming back, including now we suspect Hodor.
Yeah. So Hodor in the Army of the Dead is an amazing and super sad thought.
Cold door.
And by the way, how are we like breezing past the cold open being the coldest open ever?
Right. Yeah, well, as Brett Ehrlich said, revenge is a dessert best served cold open.
Did he say that?
Yeah, that's good.
We have to. I mean, Hodor's gonna happen. It has to happen. I don't know about the others, but Hodor has to happen.
So Mike, I guess my question is, how far back can they go? So can they bring back Stannis? Can they bring back Ramsay Bolton and Joffrey? I'm thinking about the bad guys, but then you mentioned while we were watching it live, Ned Stark, and then your heart breaks a little bit. But why Robb Stark?
But it doesn't have to be bad guys, right? I mean,
no, it doesn't.
Everybody. Well, so there's a history in the North of people burning their dead, specifically because of that.
Yeah.
Right.
But they haven't though.
Right.
They haven't, yeah.
And so
I don't think they're not gonna go out of their way to get people because they know that, so there's the White Walkers and then there's the zombies, which they call whites in this world, which are different, they're not the same thing. They have this tradition of burning their dead theoretically, although I don't know that people really do it that much anymore because of the old tales of people coming back. If they're burned, then theoretically you can't bring them back. But even though in the battle scene, there were some zombies that were basically just skeletons at that point.
So yeah,
and we saw them walking around at the beginning of the show. Like some of the guys,
some of the guys were rough.
So like, do they have
no carb?
Do the whites follow every zombie rule, including if they're beheaded, they can't?
I don't think so.
Because if that's true, then at least Ned can't come back. He definitely did not get burned because he died in King's Landing. He didn't die in the North.
Yeah, I don't think so because I'm pretty sure the hand was able to move by itself earlier, and they shot the zombies in the eye and it wasn't able to kill them. They're pretty impervious to damage.
But does everyone who's in the first of all, the Army of the Dead is made up of what? Two sets of people.
The dead,
right? So there's so there's the fancy ones, right? The Night's King is one of the ones that
the ones who get horses.
The White Walkers.
They're White Walkers.
They're queen bees. Think of them that way, right? Like you've got the queen bees, and then you've got the drones, right?
And so the drones
the dead
are called
ones
the
that
whites.
when the Night's King does this and raises all the rest of them, those are drones.
Those are mindless, dead humans. Whereas the White Walkers are fully cognizant of what's going on and are effectively a different species at this point.
Do we know if the White Walkers died before they became White Walkers?
Well, we saw that one shot from Bran of the child like driving the dragon glass into the guy's heart, and he becomes a White Walker. So I think that's how they created them.
So White Walkers were alive.
We're alive.
We're alive, and the children of the forest were trying to create something to fight off the first men.
Yeah.
And they over succeeded.
Yes. And remember, Craster would give his boys the babies, and the Night's King had that scene of touching it and turning it into a White Walker.
Right. And that's how you get the new White Walkers. Otherwise, they'd be dead by now.
Which is why I have predicted
why would they be dead?
Well, on the other hand, if they're dead, they're like mission accomplished.
Right.
Because the White Walkers are not dead. They are just a different species.
So they could die.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, you can kill them with dragonglass.
Well, we saw that they died.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's
Samuel
important to
Either
know.
dragonglass or Valyrian steel.
Yes.
Right.
Right, but I mean, but what about the drones? How do you kill the drones?
Fire.
Same thing. Or fire.
No, I don't think dragonglass actually works on them. I don't think.
On the whites. Huh, that's interesting.
I thought there was a shot of them trying that. It didn't work.
And last thing on this before we move on. Do we know how many White Walkers there are?
We've seen at any given time 13.
Yeah,
not that many, right?
Well, we saw the scene, if I remember correctly, we saw the scene where the baby gets converted. There were a few of them, right? Like there were like a dozen
circle
or so, right?
Yeah,
so there's at least a dozen.
A baker's dozen of White Walkers as far as
Let's call it the Council of Zion, right?
Let's not.
Oh, all right.
The White Walker Trilateral Commission.
All right, so we had the cold open where Arya got her revenge, her other revenge. I mean, she already had the Walder revenge. This time, she didn't quite capitalize enough. You and I thought the same thing, that she didn't like as they're choking to death, she needed to go, I'm already a Stark. You have about 10 seconds to live.
I don't think they would have known who she was anyway.
Stark.
No, she could have just said
Yeah.
it.
Well, she said something. I mean, she was giving the speech about the Starks.
But so why I watch Game of Thrones other than dun, 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 is so there's Vims, of course. We talked about it in our first set of reviews: violence, intrigue, mystery, and sex. So great. And then Game of Thrones it's a home run, touch them all, right? But intrigue is the most important part. But the one I have left out is just the lines. I love the lines. So tell them the North remembers.
Yeah.
And the look, by the way, the look that the Frey daughter has, like it's both fear and I want to grow up and be that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Right.
And a look of like, this actually didn't turn out as badly as I thought.
Yeah, I
I
think this is a win.
She's like, she's like, oh my God, this is terrible. Wait a minute. On the other hand,
I used to have to have sex
I
with
can
that guy.
just leave.
and I don't have to have sex with Walder Frey anymore.
Yeah, that's a huge.
By the way, she did a great Walder Frey impersonation.
Yeah.
Like the intonations and everything. She was great.
She's like, one of the best actresses I've ever seen. What was the other line? Tell them the North remembers.
Sansa.
Sansa, oh my God, what a mic drop
Littlefinger.
line that was.
And I'm sure it would have been clever.
Right.
Lead off with getting the last line.
But
You don't need to have the last word, Lord Baelish. I'm sure.
Arya also said something about the phrase that was great.
Well, she said, I mean, she had that line about you should have pulled them out root and stem, and it was even with a single wolf, the sheep will die or something like that.
Yeah, no. I'm saying at the end, she said, tell them the North remembers. And tell them something about the phrase.
Winter has come for the phrase.
Winter has come for the phrase.
Yes.
No, because I need to remember that, and you all need to remember that, because so next time we get somebody, we're gonna say the winter has come from Dodge.
Well, I also like that. So before it was just winter is coming. It's like we acknowledge that hard times are coming and we're preparing, but now it's we're the winter, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
She took it in a new aggressive direction.
So will I have to couch it, like will I have to soften it up? The political winter has come for Donald Trump Jr. Like, because people get touchy now, right?
After he took
Right. No, I think you're okay with all right, so, but that was good for Arya, and then we got Arya again meeting the only group of random kind men in the entire Seven Kingdoms.
Did everyone expect that they would try to kill her or rape her or rob her?
So I guess that was actually Ed Sheeran,
yes.
right? So when Ed Sheeran isn't gonna cut Maisie Williams, is gonna try to kill her. Like it's not possible. You don't bring
Ed Sheeran?
Ed Sheeran's the
singer.
Great singer-songwriter.
Singer.
He's a
which Brett called on Voice Alone.
Voice Alone, Brett
while we
called
were
it.
watching it live.
Yeah,
which was amazing.
It was amazing, and I said, "Did you know that he was going to be on?" He was like, "No," which I don't really believe him.
I think that we've talked more about Brett Ehrlich from Pop Triggered than we have about Game of Thrones so far.
Yeah.
But anyway, no. As I was looking at that, first we thought it was going to be the Brotherhood of the Banners.
Yeah, because they have a singer actually with them.
Right.
And they're the only ones that hang out in the woods. Like if you run into some guys in the woods, it's like a 1 out of 3 chances to.
Yeah, was that? Didn't we run into them later? Anyway,
in the woods, right? Yeah. So, but that was weird because it was the first time anybody has run into a group of armed men in the woods
who were just
who didn't want to kill them.
decent.
Right.
Offered her a
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah.
Right. No,
Yeah.
those guys aren't.
Wine?
They offered her wine. They made some jokes. They missed their families.
Like
It
the whole
didn't-
time you're waiting, wait, which Like they're gonna try to kill her, but wait till they get the surprise. It's Arya, she's an assassin.
Right, and you see her
like, oh, they just had a meal at
And
McDonald's.
I get the feeling that even if they believed her when she said, that was also a good line, of course I'm going to kill the queen, they'd have been like, why don't you just go and let's pretend that we never saw each other.
What I liked about that scene though is it leads you through, you see her sizing him up, right? Like she sits down and she's kind of looking and their swords over across the clearing.
She's
and
Jason
like,
Bourning it.
All right, yeah, exactly. That's exactly
right.
it. Like,
Yeah, right,
all right, I'm gonna take every one of these guys out. And then one of them's like, oh yeah, I want a daughter. And the other one's like, oh here, I made this wine. It's like, fine.
Yeah,
fine, I won't kill you. This is a weird twist. Only in Game of Thrones do you not kill those people.
Yeah, I like that they mix it up because I expected that obviously they're gonna try to kill her or she's gonna try to kill them, especially since I'm pretty sure they're Lannisters that she would want to kill them.
Well, they are, yeah.
So I like that they mixed it up and didn't do that. But one of I think the two biggest questions for this first episode and for the season was, is Arya going to reunite with her family or is she going to go for revenge in King's Landing? And I think it's inconceivable that the news hasn't spread that her brother has been declared king in the north.
But
she could have gone to see them, but she is still on that mission of wanting to finish off her list.
So she could, you would think that based on the show, if there's a flaw in the show, it's that they've set this in this ancient world, but they still need information to get to people so that they can move the narrative forward.
So it only does it when it's convenient.
Right, and so people know stuff when they want stuff to know stuff, and they don't. Now she was just at where the Freys live. What's their farm's name?
The twins.
So they're you would think that because everyone else, she would have picked up
probably
that information because we know that the Lannisters know about what happened to the Freys, right? But why wouldn't the Freys then know about Jon? Right.
No. But so first of all, she doesn't have ravens. But she has a lot of powers.
She was posing as Lord
She
Frey.
was praising. She could have
obviously stalking him.
No. But we don't know that she doesn't know that. I think she does know that Jon Snow has Winterfell, and she's a heat-seeking missile. She's not interested in Jon Snow or anything like that. She's interested in, I murdered these people. I'm an assassin. That's what I am.
That's the thing. Is her strategic importance is, she's your saboteur. She's your advanced recon, goes behind the lines and starts taking out targets. You don't want her on the front line. That's a waste of what she does.
I got you, but I disagree. I don't think she knows. I don't think that makes sense from a storytelling point of view. I think it makes sense that she doesn't know.
So you think she would go if she knew?
I think that the show, if it wanted us to show, if she would know, she would be torn. She's doing this to avenge her family. If she learned that her sister and a brother she actually loves, Sansa and Jon may not have a relationship, but Arya and Jon had a great relationship.
Yeah.
And I think she'd be torn. She might think, I'm not going, I'm gonna pursue
But she already told,
justice.
What's the tall one, who took out the Hound? Brienne. She already told Brienne she wasn't going with Brienne to be reunited with Sansa, right? Because Brienne said, I'm gonna find you and your sister and take you to Jon. And she was like, nope. Nope, I'm gonna go.
No, she's on a mission from God.
Yeah.
Well, but now though we know a few things that are going to happen this season. So I wanted to know, is she going north or is she going south? But also, is the Hound going north or is he going south? So he's now going to Eastwatch by the Sea, which means that he's not gonna have the big duel with his brother. There are 3 people left on Arya's list: Ilyn Payne, the Hound, and Cersei. She wants to kill Cersei, she's gonna have to go through the Hound, which means we're gonna have a fight scene possibly of Arya versus the Hound.
The Mountain.
The Mountain, the Mountain.
Who's Ilyn Payne?
Ilyn Payne is the executioner who killed Ned Stark.
Oh, okay.
So he's much more hyped up in the books. I only read
I don't think they've shown him in a long
time.
time.
But even in book 1, he's a big character. In the show, he hasn't. So we haven't seen him forever.
But I think she's said his name on the list early on.
But I thought she killed Payne in the books already.
I don't remember.
Okay, but in the show we haven't seen Ilyn Payne
The Mountain
forever.
definitely is
He's irrelevant.
Nobody gives a shit about Ilyn Payne. Come on.
Okay, yeah.
Right, unless
it's a cool death.
Right, unless it's a cool death, or her fact that maybe she won't take that seriously, and that'll be a way to have her make a mistake or something. Maybe in that regard.
But anyway, I think the Mountain is the proximal threat, I guess.
She's already killed Payne. Yeah, she has.
Oh, maybe the Hound and the Mountain can fight, but Arya is the Hound. You know how she's like, if you're a shapeshifter, you could do anything, right?
Yeah, but she doesn't have his face though.
Yet.
Oh, she
doesn't have his face
That's crazy.
Wait, you have to kill someone to get their face?
I think they take the face off the people that they've assassinated.
I didn't know that.
She's not gonna kill, but I mean,
It's not going to kill the Hound.
she's not gonna kill that.
She'll kill
No,
zombie.
she's not gonna.
She'll kill
The Hound is out of it. The Hound is out of
She'll
it.
didn't know
kill
she had
zombie Hound, take his face, and then go.
Zombie Hound.
Zombie Hound. Okay.
Okay, so wait, I have more plot flaws in a second, but so East Baywatch or wherever that
East Baywatch.
that the Hound is going to, what is that?
So on the wall, on the south side of the wall, there's like I think 16 castles, and the eastmost one is Eastwatch by the Sea, which is literally at where the wall hits water, and so that's where they think the Night's King is headed.
Okay.
Right. Rather than go over the wall,
He's gonna
they'll
go
go
around.
Yeah,
Duck in the wall.
or break the wall there, maybe. But
we theorized that the wall was going to crumble this season.
I still
and if he
think
goes
it.
around the wall, it's kind of like a marginal line kind of
So
disappointment.
Was the Hound going to? So he was going to the not that yet. The Hound, yeah. He was going to the wall before he saw the fire already. Like
yeah, I
No,
think they were headed
no.
there. Well, that's what Beric Dondarrion seemed to be implying. Now, do you understand why we're going there? I don't think
see.
they learned about it right then. I think the Hound learned about it.
right. So they were. All, that's where they. So they know that the dead are coming, and that's where they think they need to
so,
go
yeah.
to.
So the Jesus character, what's his name? The one that keeps getting brought back
Beric
to life.
Dondarrion.
Or Jesus seems a bit much. Let's call him Lazarus.
But he's got.
okay?
What about the eye patch? Can we do something with the eye patch?
All right, or Captain Hook. Okay, whatever.
No, Captain Hook is Jamie.
That's true.
Right, that's
so
true.
okay, so anyway, Lazarus. I love that little back and forth.
I have to
with
interrupt you for 1 second. I went to a party with my now wife in, I think it was in St. Louis. I went to see her in St. Louis. That's where she worked. And we went to a party, and there was a guy who, I think executive, something she had to work for, and he had an eye patch. And she was like, "You need to meet. Let's call him Mike." I can't remember, but he's the guy with the. I'm like, you go up to him and say something said like that. He's the guy with the eye patch. So I go up to the guy and I say, "Hey, Mike, I'm Lee's boyfriend, Ben. Nice to meet you." He goes, "I'm not Mike." And literally, like out of a script, in that moment, the crowd moves slightly, and there's a second guy there with an eye patch. It was unbelievable.
That's awkward.
And imagine how embarrassed they were that they wore the same thing to that party.
Totally. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Okay, well, there are two Lazaruses in Game of Thrones, aren't there?
Well, yeah, there's Jon Snow.
Jon Snow, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you could have made the same
Could've made
mistake.
it.
And
That's right.
everybody the White Walkers brought back.
Right.
Sort of.
Well, that's
Sort of.
another kind of Lazarus, right? I like the idea that you go up to the guy that the Hound is talking to, Jon Snow. He's like,
No.
Anyway, so I love their little conversation that they had about like, you're not extraordinary. You're a fine guy. I don't hate you.
Right. You're not interesting.
It's high praise from the Hound.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't hate you.
I
That's
wonder
right.
if we'll ever get an answer because I honestly haven't really thought about it very much. But the Hound has a great point. What the hell is that guy doing?
Like we know
this
why
whole time?
John, right? Theoretically, we know why
defend
John.
the wall.
Right, defend the wall.
But that's the
save
thing about the Lord of the Light, and that's what's great about Game of Thrones is that Lord of the Light has unbelievable powers, but we're not entirely sure he's the real Lord. He's the only Lord, only God. We don't know what his purpose is. We don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, because of course the other person who works for the Lord of the Light is the vagina monster lady, and she's not.
So we don't know that he's a lord or anything. He just could be some guy who read the books. It could be some magic.
It could be like Star Trek V. Why does God need a spaceship? He's just like a really strong, supernatural thing.
Beric Dondarrion, I don't think is an important enough character to himself do anything to merit being brought back multiple times. But theoretically, if he had to sacrifice himself for a bigger character, that might be why the Lord kept bringing him back. To go to the wall and sacrifice himself to save
like
Jon
he's
or Sansa.
he's the guy who needs to be at the right time,
the other
right
thing
place.
is that-
or he's the Lord. I don't know. I just that.
But the one thing I think we'd all agree on is what's his name again?
Beric Dondarrion?
That's way too hard. Lazarus.
Barack Obama.
Okay. Oh, Beric is his name.
Beric.
Really? Oh, okay. Beric Lazarus is going to die and not be brought back. Like they're going to try to bring him back, and it's not going to work when he has finally met his destiny.
Yes.
When he has served his purpose.
God knows what that is.
Right.
Right. Sorry, the Lord of Light knows what that is.
Right, and and one of those things is when you look at the whole thing, there's 7 episodes in this season. Apparently, there's 7 episodes in the next season. But this is why people don't want George R.R. Martin to die, because how are they going to resolve all of this in only 14 shows? Now 13 shows, right? They can. We're going to find out what the Lord of the Light is all about. Dude, we're going to have the winner of the whole thing.
It's 13 hours. That could be.
How could they possibly resolve?
Here's the thing.
A few of the episodes
It's
are
13 hours.
That's like saying 6 feature-length movies. You can't do it. Well, you can't get there.
But look, like even if God's forbid something happens to George R.R. Martin, the showrunners know they've plotted out the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They know where it's all gonna go. And we are so far afield of where the books have gone.
Yeah,
like
he's
the
worked with
Dondarrion story, for instance, at this point in the books, has gone drastically in a different direction than it has. And it has that way for a few characters because it's that ripple effect that we started seeing from the first couple of seasons that now 7 seasons.
The butterfly effect.
Right, it has vast, big changes. So,
which is great because then when I finally
none of
read
us
the books,
have any idea what's going on now.
When I finally read the books when I'm retired, it'll still be new and different.
You're never gonna retire.
I will say this: the scenes at the library very different in the books. They
anyway, now I know the guy's name, Dondarrion, because he's not really Dondarrion.
Oh,
okay,
that's
awesome. How I'm gonna
remember. I can't wait for the moment in the library where Samuel finds his books Game of Thrones.
Spoilers.
And it's unfinished.
That'd be a nice self-referential moment. So, which they would never do.
Stephen King walks in.
So the two real plot things that I have problems with is one that Ben mentioned while we were watching it live, which is, now because you brought up the Ravens and how they get messages, and I'm gonna start calling the internet Ravens now. And so, but yet, as they get messages about Harry sold 40 loaves of bread to Bob, nobody will mention the fucking dragons. Right?
They have a whole.
That's the first thing the Ravens would tell you. By the way, watch out! There's 3 fucking dragons.
So
but that'll happen now, right? The Ravens haven't come from over the sea.
No, but Cersei.
No, but they know Cersei.
They know about the dragons.
Cersei and Jamie had a whole conversation there on the map floor. About Daenerys is coming and she's got your imp brother, who's by the way also her brother, who killed. Of course, she still believes. I don't know whether she believes it, but still thinks he killed Joffrey.
Yeah.
Of course, he didn't, and we don't know whether Jamie is down for that. Although Jamie probably would have been in favor of killing Joffrey if you really. But anyway, they mentioned and they know about the phrase. They just it doesn't come up in his conversation about you're only head of 3 kingdoms, right? You only have 3 kingdoms. We don't have any. You'd think it'd be hey man, and who cares whether we get these guys? They're not going to help us with the dragons.
You're right. The biggest news that has to be hitting anything in the kingdoms is holy shit. There's dragons again.
That's right.
That has to be.
So that's such a that drives me crazy.
Headline news.
Exactly. That's every time it's like when Donald Trump won the election on election night, as if everybody would be talking about who do you think the agriculture secretary is going to be?
Right.
No, this guy, unbelievable, won the election. Right? There's 3 fucking dragons in the sky. Right?
I think it's just too uncomfortable to talk about.
So when they're strategizing,
they do know though. It was mentioned 5 seasons ago.
No, I know, but that's
they
what
know.
But they were speculating.
Here's the thing. Maybe a lot of these people, Cersei's administration, doesn't really believe that dragon-caused climate change is really a thing.
Yeah, well,
right?
that's the only possible explanation.
Right, exactly.
Because
it's a
look, guys,
hoax.
so as they're it becomes preposterous because, and I love this show. That's why these are small points, but they're grading.
Dragons.
So as they're
the Maesters don't agree.
when the dragons, I'm sorry, when they're strategizing about allies, oh, you're on Greyjoy or this or that, the conversation should be centered around, what the fuck are we gonna do about the fucking dragons, right?
I have a counterpoint.
Okay.
And it's from Slaver's Bay. So all of those slavers knew she had dragons. They knew she had dragons. They didn't know what the dragon was. At one point, the dragon lit one guy on fire. Ooh, that's exciting. They didn't realize how big they had gotten. It's one thing to say she has dragons. Hundreds of years ago, there were dragons. I guess they were a big thing.
But they conquered the whole kingdoms by themselves.
Yes, at one point. But then for hundreds of years, all they were these tiny little whelpish type things. I think they know she has dragons, but they don't realize, when those guys sailed into Slaver's Bay.
Maybe there's
oh shit,
change.
these are dragons.
And also maybe maybe I guess it is that they've heard these reports about what happened in the phrase. Obviously, that somebody would tell them that, and that would get out. Guards survived that and was like, I don't know what happened, man. But so it's possible that they don't buy it. That they would think that that's just so. What I hope, and I think what you hope too, is that it gets addressed.
It has to get addressed.
Episode.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so that leads to point 1A, which is, okay, so you're not gonna tell Jaime, the head of your armies, that Euron Greyjoy you already made a deal with until he's like a second from showing up. Come on,
That's crazy.
You gotta have that conversation. Second of all,
that's Cersei, she can't turn it off. She can't, no, seriously,
you
like
might
that
be right.
conniving, she can't turn it off.
There's no off on secret evil plans, right?
Yeah, Euron could have just sailed into King's Landing and tried to take the city with all those ships.
Yeah,
he had more than Stannis did.
Yeah, Jaime has to be prepared. And then Euron like antagonizing Jaime. You two are the main armies that are going to unite to fight together. It's cute for the show that you make fun of his arm and say you're gonna have sex with his sister, but in reality, like that's a pretty shitty dynamic.
What did he say? I killed my brother, and he had 2 good hands.
And he had 2 good hands. Yeah.
And
I have 2 good hands.
Oh right, yeah,
I have 1,000 ships and 2
and
good
he
hands.
said, no.
You should try killing your. I killed my brother. You should try it. It's fun.
Yeah. So that whole,
he was like the only guy too. He was wearing like a serious like V-neck. I mean, he looked like a pirate.
He is a pirate.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah, but can you
right?
imagine like somebody unexpectedly gets control of a massive military and then starts tweeting really irrational things?
That could never happen.
The
You're
problem
right.
with Huron is he looks like he raided Russell Brand's closet.
He does.
Yeah.
He looks like
But there's a bit of a Jack Sparrow vibe to him.
Yeah, I know, but it's like 90s heavy metal, but small clubs.
He's a
Not
90s British pirate.
Your Brett said Eddie.
I said Eddie Izzard. He looked like Eddie Izzard.
I think Ewan McGregor.
I'd love Eddie Izzard in that role. I mean, that guy was good.
By the way, I saw Eddie Izzard like 2 weeks ago at
Velvet
NPR.
Goldmine.
Oh, is that right?
He was coming in for an interview as I was leaving.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the other plot thing that I have a problem with
pirate.
is that, all right, actually before we get to the other plot problem, where's Euron Greyjoy going? He's going to get them a gift.
What's the gift? Yeah.
The gift is obviously someone's head. That's always the gift in Game of Thrones. Because he has to prove his loyalty. He can talk till he's blue in the face, they'll never believe him, that makes sense.
So who could he get? The Dorn, or like the Dorn?
Either Tyrion or somebody,
But
right?
you can't get to Tyrion. I mean,
There's no way he's gonna
I
get to
think it's-
Tyrion,
I
so
think
who
it's
is it, right?
The woman, the
It's
woman.
Lyanna's head.
Eliana?
That would be good.
Diana Rigg?
Yeah.
I think it's the Dorn. The girls of Dorn,
Sand
or like
Snakes,
maybe the.
Oh, the Dorn is not bad because they killed her beloved daughters. That's the
They
daughter
killed the
that
daughters,
she
right.
really cared
that'd be a
about.
good
So
one.
Yeah.
I want to throw out a prediction.
Oh yeah.
But I'm a little bit worried about spoilers, so I'm not going to say much. But I said during the show it's Tyrion's head because that seems to make sense, and they have a fleet. She has a fleet. They could fight. But you just said, why is nobody talking about the threat of these dragons? Euron would have heard about the dragons too. I think those 2 things are related.
You think he's gonna go get the head of a dragon?
No,
I wish
but
him luck.
I do think he's going to do something that shows concern for dragons and their effect in war. I don't want to say too much because theoretically there's stuff that happened in the books, if you recall, that they never delved into. But I think it might be related to that. So I'm not going to say anything more.
I didn't get any of that, but okay.
That's my prediction.
All right.
That's a good one because I was just sitting here thinking like, one of the issues is if you're Cersei and you know the news about the dragons, like what the fuck do you do to address it?
Okay, all right, so that's a good tease. Leave it right there, leave it right there. For the people who read the book, they were going, oh, and for the rest of us, we don't know what you're talking about, so that's perfect.
No idea. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's, yeah.
Okay, so the other plot point that drives me crazy, and you guys are probably not going to agree with this, is that Sansa's always been stupid and now she's smart. That bothers me.
She was a kid. She's learned.
I get it. I know
School
that's
of Hard Knocks.
I
Cersei
understand.
and Littlefinger taught her, and Tyrion a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't teach stupid. Look at Don Trump Jr.
No, you can teach stupid. You can.
I don't know. Was she stupid or naive?
I think she was naive.
No, I know
and
you
had it
guys are on the
burned out of
naive
her.
camp, and I'm gonna let it go. This is the last I'll
She
mention
learned
it.
from
Probably
Ramsay,
not.
too.
But like, I think the show showed her as someone not just naive, but just didn't have any idea what was going on around her. Not bright. Now all of a sudden she's scheming really well, right? And understands everything. So let's chalk it up to she was naive and she learned.
Yeah, she learned. She did learn from 3. It's been a lot of years. I mean, she was. You're not gonna. She was 14.
Yeah, no, it's
and
good.
so
Right.
she, and also like, I don't even know that, yes, she's scheming effectively. And her point is a point that would be made by some people. No, they were disloyal. But his point is probably better. I mean, his point is probably like, this is no, you destroy the families, you make an enemy. Like right now, I got a moment here that I can bring everybody together and I think I should do it.
Well, and she makes, it's an interesting look at what they've both gone through, right? In that Jon has gone through all this stuff and has been betrayed, and he's still aspiring to be as honorable as his father, right? Or father. But she has seen her father get betrayed. She's seen her brother get betrayed. She's been betrayed, and she's seen all of these people around her scheme and move forward and benefit. So her perspective is, look, like honor's great and all, but fuck it, like you got to really hit hard when you need to, and I think we're going to see that. Like it is two different perspectives, and I don't think that she's evil about it, but she is much more cynical than Jon is, and I think in the end, actually, that's going to make for a potentially really, really effective partnership. I actually don't think it's going to break them apart.
I don't think so either, but I'm partly hoping that because it's the potential for their split and Littlefinger taking advantage of that split is too obvious. Like in a sense, because it would end like, Littlefinger plotting and plotting, and and there's a possible end to the show where it works for Littlefinger. I mean, that's what you sort of Or he just finally he's got, as we've said 1,000 times. I think we make the point. It's been a year and a half since that he's got to hit a 13-team parlay, and eventually one of those parlay you win 10 in a row. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to win $5 billion on that, and then you lose the 11th parlay, and it's like, Sansa and Jon aren't going to part, and they're going to recognize it, and then Jon will kill him. And that'll be the end of Littlefinger, bang, just like that.
Yeah, and Varys ends up on the throne.
Right.
So I mean, but Jon and I, and Anna, we had predictions, and my prediction was at the very end, the last two people left are Littlefinger and Varys, because they're actually the two most important characters in the whole thing, because they're the chaos is a ladder, no chaos is a hole, right? And so it's kind of light versus darkness.
Is that a conversation they have?
Yes, they had it all the way back earlier. And so I actually think, and Game of Thrones being Game of Thrones, there's a good chance that at the very end, the person sitting on the Iron Throne is Littlefinger. So,
but maybe maybe it'd be great. Maybe Littlefinger is like the most establishment guy. Maybe secretly, people will love this. He would have been like Hillary, and he'd actually be a pretty good leader.
Well, if he becomes order, then Varys would turn around and serve him.
Right, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
he's Frank Underwood.
He's definitely Frank Underwood. Yeah, there's no question about that. Yeah. So look, basically the main question here is,
or Littlewood.
Littlewood. That's unfortunate.
Sansa, that's any better than Littlefinger?
Littlefinger. That could be another good nickname for Trump. Little hands, little fingers.
That's right. Yeah.
Although he's Joffrey, so that's already taken. So, but Sansa and Jon Snow, what they set up here was dissension. Right, to Ben's point. And so now an interesting question mark, because it's Game of Thrones and not any other show, is will that dissension actually happen and then ruin them? Or will they get past it and, as Matt pointed out, actually be an amazing team? And that's why we love this show, because we don't know and no one knows.
Because the conversation after the inappropriate moment in front of everybody, where we were all thinking, like, I think you could have this conversation somewhere else.
Don't fight in front of the kids.
Right, don't fight in front of the kids. But their conversation afterwards was actually pretty grown up.
Yeah.
Like they were, I mean, they got their points across. They weren't, like it was pretty good. There wasn't a sense of, you didn't get the overwhelming sense of, they didn't give us that shot, which is best when they don't, of course, of like, he walks away and Sansa with a lingering look that we can't quite place.
Yeah.
Although they did that at the end of the previous season, because we don't know what Sansa's look to Littlefinger was.
It's also entirely possible that he continues to try to get Sansa to support him, Littlefinger does. She doesn't, but he still does betray them. I mean, he's got thousands of mounts.
He's got another plan, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how much we want to get into like episode descriptions, but there's a little bit of reason to believe that might happen already.
All right, what else do we have? First, the library stuff was disgusting.
Yeah, it was overdone. Like I got it. There's poop. I got it.
It was a great, because it was it might have been Game of Thrones' only montage.
I think it actually is.
Like it was a
little Benny Hill-esque.
But I mean, also
a little bit of levity. It's a passage of time thing. He hasn't been there for a week.
I don't like any scatological humor, but this at least acknowledged the grossness of it. Like that's the problem with it. And so and the stew.
Yeah,
that was good. That was
and I feel like
you were like because as it goes so fast, you're like, I don't know which this is.
Right.
That's exactly right.
He's gonna mix those bowls up.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think Samwell's losing a little bit of weight, and I think that's what they were trying to explain. This is why he's losing weight.
Maybe.
So then, but anyway, he figured it out with a random opening of a page. Like, no, that's the problem in books is that nobody goes page by page. They just, she just opens it in the middle. He jumps forward 17 pages. I got it. Like,
that's how my wife reads the books. She'll go to chapter 17.
Really?
And then to the final chapter, and then back to chapter 2.
That's crazy.
Really?
That's crazy. But he found something important. Obviously, who controls Dragonstone, extremely important. They need to have access to that. But he discovered that. He also discovered that Jorah Mormont is in fact looking for a cure for his thing. And
now, why do you say that? Because she said to him, "Go find a cure."
She said, "Come back to me when you're cured, like you're no longer exiled." He's willing to go to this place to be studied.
What got him unexiled? I can't remember. He fought for her at the.
He fought for her. He saved her life when
in that pit.
In the
pit, yeah.
But then also he went with poor man's Bronn into the Dothraki thing to try to save her.
Right. Okay.
He just kept coming back.
Right. He kept coming back. So, but we saw his arm. He's in pretty bad shape.
He's in pretty bad shape. But
does he know Sam? They never met, right?
No, I don't think they'd have met. But if they had one conversation, it implies they'll have more. He's curious about Dragonstone. Jorah Mormont knows the woman who now controls Dragonstone. He could potentially find a cure for grayscale.
Also, that guy who if I'm remembering right, I call Richard because I think it was his character's name on Downton Abbey. So if Richard and Sam, they would be friends.
Well, you call that because he looks like the guy from Cheers.
That's right. It's Richard. Okay. But if Richard and Sam, that's a relationship that should happen. They're both sort of thinkers, right? Like Sam will like him.
They're both loyal.
They're loyal, and
that's their main thing is loyalty to someone. Samwell to Jon.
But Richard
perfect. Samwell's Jon Snow's main buddy, right? And Jorah is. And we think
we're setting
Daenerys and Jon Snow at some point are going to meet in the middle, right?
But here's the thing. Speaking of that, I was just thinking, we're setting up this really interesting thing that by the end, Jon needs to know about the dragon glass that's in the south that Daenerys is now sitting on top of, so that he can defeat the real enemy, right? But it's a lot of space between those two, right?
Yeah.
And Cersei and her army, and possibly Huron and I think Huron's going to go for the Tyrells and take over that whole area, and so they're going to have to fight. They're going to fight their way to the middle and then turn around and go back up north.
Right?
Yeah,
that's going to be a mess.
I mean, it might be.
I think that's this whole season.
Yeah, if they lose the wall and have to retreat, that may help them move south a little bit faster.
Who does Jaime fight with?
Oh, I see. You think maybe he turns on him and
he might end up fighting with his brother.
He's going to go with Tyrion.
I think he'll fight with his brother in the end. I mean, I think
so. One of the speculations we did in the preview of this season was, does Jaime become not just Kingslayer but Queenslayer?
Yeah. I mean, he has to
Queensryche,
or is he going to be like, yeah, Tyrion, I know you're right, but I mean, this is my lot is here, and this is it. I'm the kind of guy who I pushed a little kid off a tower.
Right. I mean,
I've done a lot of terrible things.
You've seen him flirt with decency.
Yeah.
Right.
But
he doesn't quite.
At the end of the last episode in last season, he comes in. She's being crowned. He looks extremely uncomfortable with that. And I would say that all that we saw in their interaction today, it doesn't confirm that he is once again loyal to her fully.
No, we don't.
He doesn't like the Euron stuff. He feels betrayed.
And it feels betrayed, but he's becoming a pretty smart guy, and he thinks, this is not how you win a war.
Well,
make an alliance.
But he also thinks there's no way we can.
Right, there's no winning this war, right?
But here's the other thing we do know about Jaime, and we've learned this from the stories he's told, and we know this from a couple of different instances. For all of him being this crass playboy, push a kid out his window, we also know that he will kill a king to save a kingdom.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And he established that, like he killed that king to save the city.
Right.
And so we know
So
that
if he thinks he has to kill Cersei, maybe he'll do it.
So maybe he'll kill Cersei to save thousands, if not millions of lives.
I want to devote like 15 minutes next week to this really interesting New York Magazine piece on Cersei and how we're too harsh on her. Or at least don't
we do
apply.
a separate piece about that.
Yeah, we can do a separate piece, like about about whether the standards, the Game of Thrones standards of evil are applied to her. And Lena Headey or Headley?
Headey. I thought it was Headey. Lena Headey.
All right.
Headley Lamar.
She says it.
Headey Lamar.
Headey Lamar.
Headley.
Lena Headley.
Headey.
Lena Headey.
Headey.
Lena Headey. She says it too. She's like she sees Cersei as, not dissimilar. Like you don't want to get to the part of the article, and we'll just again for 20 seconds is that they suggest is she really any worse than Ramsay
or Stannis
or Joffrey? And of course, but if that's who you're comparing yourself to, then it's a rather silly argument because those are but
is she any worse than Stannis?
Yeah,
who killed his brother?
She even mentioned Tyrion, who killed Shay and killed his father, and so anyway, it's an interesting idea that we apply that the standard we apply.
You know what? Though between
to
all those people, I will not choose the lesser of two evils. The lesser of two evils is still evil.
That's right.
And if good news is if Cersei loses, she can still walk in the woods. Was that the one that was out of bounds?
All right. So what else we got? All right.
The taking of Dragonstone, I guess.
Right. Well, I guess it wasn't.
Well, that was the easiest castle ever taken.
Yeah.
I can't believe there aren't at least vagrants in there.
Yeah, I would have left 100 men because think about how hard it would be to take that castle. You've like a stair that goes 3 miles that's like 2 abreast. That you're not taking that castle.
But who had that castle? Stannis. But I mean, well, we know he had to leave, right? But who had it before Stannis? I mean,
they did. The Targaryens.
But I mean, where did
she was born there?
But I mean, is it just a
after
castle,
Rhaegar
or is there? I mean, isn't there like a town? Like when you need?
It's basically a fortress.
When you need olive spread, like where do you go? Like,
ships
bring it in.
Yeah.
Dragons.
Yeah.
They go do a run at Ralph's.
Like where do you?
Instacart theoretically. Okay. Postmates is
Amazon delivers now to Dragonstone.
Is that right? Okay.
Right. Yeah. But it's not that far from King's Landing, by the way.
I have one last thought. I think there's never a last thought, but anyway, look, I've always thought that the White Walkers are overrated. I thought like you're gonna get Dragonstone, and you're gonna kill them. It's not gonna be that hard. Now we know that there's a mountain of dragon glass. I mean, there's a mountain of dragon glass,
and they're gonna
at
need it because there's giant zombies. There's giant zombies. They're gonna need that
literal
mountain
giants.
of.
And every victory they get all of the people who died are theirs again, and every one of their people that died are back again.
I'm going to go back to your Sansa point because it relates to what we were just talking about. Like because we've talking about Jaime and his development, and one thing we didn't talk about was Clegane and his development. Like right, we see that he's got all this humanity. He's sort of wrecking. This is a brutal killer, and now he feels shame that he killed, that he took these people's stuff. He buries them. He says, you shouldn't have died. You deserve
Can I just
that.
do 2 quick clarifications in case people aren't following us? So we think Jorah was the guy that was in the prison, what appeared to be a prison.
Yes.
And he had this.
We know it is.
Leper colony.
We know it is.
Yeah. So it's but it turns out it's a leper colony. In case you missed that, and in case you forgot, that's the house that they went into with the Hound is the one that the Hound stole from. And that's why those 2 people, the dad and the daughter, starved to death.
Yeah. Or
that's
killed
why
themselves before they starved.
Right, exactly. So that's why he feels bad about it.
Right, and just a great little piece of writing. I mean, anytime you recognize that a parent killed their kid and then themselves because it was the right thing to do, like that's a super powerful. Yeah. And so he's come a long way as a character. Jaime has come a long way as a character, and I think we have to apply that same standard to Sansa, who was a kid. She has come a long way. She seemed dumb, but she's been listening and paying attention to really savvy, frequently brutal people around her, and she's starting to figure out how to get this play.
Here's the thing, I feel like we kind of have to believe that because regardless of what we may ever find out about Jon's lineage, none of the rest of the Stark kids are stupid, right? They may be naive, but they're not unteachable, right? So I think that Sansa may have started off more naive than any of them, but just, Rob learned to be Rob learned from his father. Jon learned from his father. We see Arya has definitely learned, and she's gotten a little bit more. She's gotten a lot more embittered and more cynical as well. We might see her starting to dial back from that a little bit as she sees the humanity in those soldiers. But Bran's learned a lot too. So we have to. I think it's in line with the Starks as a family. Sansa has to be able to learn from her experiences.
I wish they'd have made it a little clearer in earlier seasons that she was just naive and not stupid, but that's okay. I'm done with it. I'm done Darian with it. Okay.
You mentioned the cynicism, and I think that's a really interesting point because we heard, because I watched it today too, just to remember, because in case you can't tell, I don't remember anything. But Tyrion said to Daenerys before she pinned the thing on him, like, I'm a cynical person. I don't believe in anything. People ask me to believe in causes, gods, nations, people, myself, and I was like, meh. Sometimes it was tempting, but never, but I believe in you. So his cynicism, it's interesting, has been lost, and Arya has just developed this massive degree of cynicism.
Arya or
Arya has developed. Arya has developed all this.
She's an assassin.
Yeah.
So look, point well taken. Bottom line is, if ever there is a show where characters develop,
right,
this is it. Yeah. And it's funny that you brought that example because I was just about to jump in and say the same or similar thing, which is that the two characters that remind me of each other the most are actually the Hound and Jaime Lannister, with deep morality and deep immorality in the same person, and that struggle of light and darkness within one character.
Yeah, we did brief note. Tormund is going in for it with Brienne. Like they're back in the same spot.
That's right.
He had that good line after Podrick gets the shit beat out of him. He's like, "You're a lucky man."
Yeah, totally.
That's a good line.
His people's eyebrow coming towards Brienne was great.
Oh, he's creepy. His eyes both go in different directions.
I want to see Tormund and Brienne on the Iron Throne.
But she's
Brienne. Now I will not debate that. Brienne, I love her. She's an awesome fighter, but not bright. She's like, I think Littlefinger might be up to something.
Yeah.
No, you don't say. You think so?
She's into Tormund though. She
Oh, she loves it. Are you kidding me?
Let's make that happen. Yeah. So we mentioned before the show, we still don't know where the Red Woman is, where she's going.
She rode off somewhere south, never to return.
Cersei, God only knows. And I share with you, we talked about this in our prediction video. The one thing they need to establish is, with all of these things coming together for Daenerys, all the things that she has, how do you make the opposition credible? And I think they're gonna have to do that in the next few episodes. But I do think, and I didn't know how for sure this was out there. It was sort of still a prediction, but can we go to that one shot? I think Ben's one shot. Maybe you can see it. You can't really see it. That picture behind Ben, though, you're not gonna be able to see it, but you guys can see it. That's a dragon breathing blue with blue eyes.
Oh yeah, right.
Behind the Night's King. So I don't think that's a prediction anymore. At some point, he either turns a dragon or they raise a dragon from the dead. But an episode ends with an eye turning blue on a dragon.
See, now game on.
Shit.
Now game on. When the biggest dragon turns into a White Walker or to a White.
Or whatever,
right. Oh my God, White Walker's even better.
And he rides
if he right. Oh yeah. Oh shit, that's gonna be good. Oh, that's gonna be good. Game on. Okay, good. You got me back into. I know that we talked about it earlier, but I didn't feel it until now, right?
How awesome would be the last episode? It's the Night's King sitting on this Iron Throne and everyone's dead.
Right. Oh, that was in our prediction too. Like
that would be amazing.
Except Littlefinger.
No. I think John mentioned the prediction that Littlefinger becomes the White Knight and sits on the Iron Throne.
Or becomes the Night King.
The Night King, that's what I mean.
Becomes the next one, maybe.
Yeah.
Although
so there's a lot of possibilities.
The other great prediction that I would love to see that would really mix it up and would be so Game of Thrones, but we didn't see anything that would make you think it was true in this episode, is all of these hints about Daenerys being the bad kind of Targaryen in the end, if that did actually come true and she does go crazy.
Yes, because you know what? It's funny. What I was going to say is, we've seen her. She left Eric Bana behind to rule with be kind but fair and lift Marine up, and he's going to do it, and probably, and and she's freed the slaves, and she does this. He pins the Queen of the Hand thing on Tyrion. She's coming over. It's her home. She is gonna be she's gonna go wrong. Like it's too good. It's too good, and she's too. And to Sansa's point, like the way you win this is with leaving utter destruction in your path. Although it should be pointed out that all those people ultimately, I mean, Joffrey was cruel and terrible, and Ramsay was cruel and terrible, and they had a run, but then they were ultimate. So I don't know. I just think that I wonder whether her perceived goodness and softness will either cut, or like
when
you said,
things become tough,
or when it becomes tough, that like whatever the chemical imbalance that's in the Targaryen line snaps.
Right. So
but I
think
don't know that all the Targaryens always go bad.
No, they said with a Targaryen, it's a flip of a coin.
Right.
50-50, insane or fine.
Right.
And so we think she's fine, we're not positive. So I think we're at an end here. So let me end on two notes about that. One is, remember now we know that Jon Snow is a Targaryen, or at least half Targaryen, right? So
yeah.
Do we?
Yeah. I mean,
so
we're pretty sure. They did that fade in the last episode.
Yeah. So he's a Targaryen and Daenerys is a Targaryen.
So maybe he's crazy.
No,
but I mean,
you can't have two good ones. Come on.
Oh,
right.
flip of a
That's too
coin.
much.
right.
Flip of a coin.
So what if Jon flips out?
Yeah. So I wasn't going in that direction, but we do know the Targaryens sleep with one another.
Oh
right?
yeah,
like so that's their thing. They sleep with one another.
But
So if Jon Snow and Daenerys got together at the end, if they met in the middle, they'd really be.
Hang on. I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. Wait. I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. We had a good Jon, and he got killed. And so maybe the Jon that comes back.
But Lazarus,
like bonkers Targaryen.
Pet Cemetery.
But Dondarrion always comes back.
He comes back good.
Right,
but he's not a
Targaryen.
He's not a Targaryen, right?
Right.
If it's a flip of a coin, maybe.
Well, we certainly
next time he
haven't
lost the
seen
flip.
any indication that the new Jon is like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think you're stretching, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And I will say, so I have two predictions.
But they could
We
get
haven't seen that
together,
from
though.
Daenerys either.
Aren't they like? I mean, they're like
aunt
fifth
and-
cousins, right?
The aunt and
No.
nephew.
Daenerys is Jon's aunt.
Yeah,
Daenerys
so they
is
will get
Jon's
together.
aunt.
So
Yeah.
They only get together if they're brother and sister.
Yeah, so I have two predictions for shots. I
why
do
it'll
think
be Jon and Sansa.
one episode is going to end with a dragon's eye turning blue, I think. And I do think at
that's
some point
definitely
we're going to have
true.
a shot of, people think Daenerys is not going to sleep with Jon Snow. They're definitely going to sleep together. You're going to have a shot of her hand on his stabbed up chest when she realizes that he was actually killed and came back. That's a shot that's going to happen in Game of Thrones, damn it.
Interesting.
Very specific prediction. I like it.
It's verifiable.
And then the other analogy we talked about, Jaime Lannister and the Hound, is to sum all this up in one bow. Is Daenerys was Cersei. They both were looking at a map of Westeros.
Yes.
They're both queens, two queens in the same map. I already made the two queens at a map joke in the live show, and so that goes to the point of, are they really that different? Is Cersei really that evil, or is Daenerys really that good, or maybe they're two sides of a coin?
Well, maybe we'll have that part of our Cersei conversation next week. But I think that yes, that's possibly what they're suggesting. The other possibility is, yeah, here are these two people. They're both in the same position. They're both looking at maps. But look, man, they're totally different ways of approaching it. One is, one is hell bent on an evil control and destruction, doing whatever she can, and one is trying to save the civilization.
All right, so the homework for people watching at home is read the article
in New York Magazine.
In New York Magazine.
Unless it wasn't New York Magazine.
We'll post it from What the Flick.
That's
We'll
right.
post it from your Twitter account and mine, and then and so send us your reactions and your thoughts on it, and we'll speak to them when we record other stuff on Thursday.
I have to say, my two final thoughts. One, as I watched the final episode of season 6, I was disturbed to see that Kevin Lannister died. Because I liked him because his name was Kevin. And the High, what was Jonathan Pryce's? What's his?
High Sparrow.
High Sparrow. He reminds me of Mike Pence.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, just like, not so much the look, just the, like he's really believes it.
So,
yeah.
One other quick thing, we're gonna definitely see more stuff in the library with the Maesters because you don't cast Jim Broadbent in that role as the Archmaester.
I didn't even.
That's right.
For one scene.
Of course, right?
Because we'll see a lot of him.
Although they did it with Ian McShane.
Yeah.
I mean, they took Ian
Good
McShane
point.
out in an episode, but I hear
which
you,
was
that's right.
crazy.
Yeah.
But
Good
he had
episode.
more scenes.
Yes,
He did have a few
right.
scenes.
That's right.
Okay, so programming note, we did this on the main channel if you're watching on youtube.com/TYT because it was the first episode. Going forward, we're gonna be live on youtube.com/whattheflickshow, because normally, of course, these are all on What the Flick. If you're watching this tape, you probably are watching it on What the Flick. We'll be watching live with you guys, doing a little bit of play-by-play as we watch it, and then we'll do the review right after, just like we did today. And that'll happen for each Game of Thrones episode.
Each Game of the Thrones.
And
all the games, all the thrones.
And
2 games, 1 throne.
We're gonna do it on Facebook.com/whattheflick and YouTube.com/whattheflickshow. Okay, so make sure you check that out for the upcoming weeks. And the last programming note is, I promise I won't wear the same shirt as John again. Okay? I realize it only
you
at the
can
end.
try.
All right, who wore it best?
Who wore it better, right?
Oh, please. I mean, John.
We'll see you next week.